Greetings, my friend. I hope that you are having a very fine Sunday afternoon. This is going to be a very quick little video. It's strictly to put a spotlight on what a true malignant narcissist sounds like and how they conceptualize their world or other people, right? And I think after I play this and you listen to it, you're going to go, wow, that really sounds like someone else that is part of an active investigation right now. So for those of you, I'm sure everybody knows who this is, but in the interest of full understanding disclosure, this is a killer, convicted killer, dude known as Wade Wilson, and they call him the Deadpool killer for obvious reasons. He was recently found guilty, and he has been given the death penalty. And so he is now sitting on death row in Florida. This is part of it's a little snippet of some leaked audio right after he was arrested, before they even found the second victim. He was ultimately convicted of killing 2 women. Some people have said there's likely more. He's probably a serial killer. But again, that's just conjecture. But he's very cold. He's very detached. He definitely is not having an emotional experience that would reflect the devastation of 2 innocent people being, killed, bludgeoned to death, murdered for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And so he's having, in this leaked audio, he's having conversations with his father. Now, his father is not a wilting rose, okay? His father's pretty rough guy too, although I'm sure he's not a murderer or a criminal like of that level, right? But the conversations happening between Wade and his father, they definitely reflect a man who's he seems to be pretty rough, pretty, and you kind of get a little bit of a little peek into maybe growing up a child with this man, the influences of an authoritarian father. And is that what happened to Wade Wilson? The heavy-handed using shame, hitting the unreasonable expectations without providing a corresponding level of support, all the things that we associate with an authoritarian parent. Is that what got Wade to this point of intense anxiety, intense anger, and a hyper focus on women, something weaker and smaller than him, that he uses to act out his anxiety and his anger upon? Is this part of the influences that you see of being raised by an authoritarian parent? I know we had, the other night, we were listening to Christopher Proudfoot on Web Sleuths, and for a short time, Gray Hughes came up on panel, and he marveled at how weird it was, quote unquote. He says, weird. But he was marveling at how so many people in the side chat, how they were saying, hitting your child with a belt, that is abuse. And if you're using the belt against a kid who is on the spectrum, who has special needs, who doesn't understand the whole corporal punishment thing, that is actually abuse. Most people would say a weapon used against a special needs kid or person, that is without a doubt violence, right? And Gray was surprised by that. He went live later on his channel, and was just like, I was really surprised how many people said it's wrong. You shouldn't be hitting on your children. You certainly should not be hitting on them with a weapon like a belt. And you damn sure ought not be beating with a belt a little 15-year-old who is, special needs, on the spectrum, has genetic disorder, has some neurological weakness that one wrong move, he could end up dead. It was really surprising me to hear him go, wow, that's weird. Yeah, that's weird. So many people are against it. So he also says, well, my mom, I don't remember now the exact quote, but something along the lines of, well, my mom hit me my whole life. She hit me with belts and she hit me with wooden spoons. And look at me, I turned out okay. So Gray Hughes aligns with Christopher Proudfoot. They seem to get one another. While the majority of us are pretty repulsed by Christopher Proudfoot and his heavy-handed ways with the kids. We assume he's also heavy-handed with his wives, but that is 100% conjecture. But two CPS cases, 2 different states, Nina, an ex-wife, talking about him hitting her children even before she had faith. I don't know if anybody ever tried to hit my child, I would come for them. Like, not even hide that. So I don't know how you sit back and let that happen. But anyway, so we've been in this conversation about authoritarian versus authoritative. We've been in this conversation about the damages, the dangers, the impact of being raised by an authoritarian parent, someone who is not empathetic and warm, someone who will strike you in violence if you break one of their sacred rules. Authoritarian parents have a lot of rules, but then they don't match that with a corresponding level of support and guidance and education. So the impact of authoritarian parents is quite negative. It's quite horrible. One of the funny, well, some might not find it funny. I'm kind of one of those people. My fight or flight response is fight. So if I'm in a situation and my brain perceives that there's something dangerous or something that could be threatening, my body just reacts. It's not that I think about it. It's not that I plan, I'm going to do this. My body just reacts, and it is a definite problem approach reaction. And I've had a couple of those instances where, I was kind of like already on the move to confrontation as my brain is going, whoa, now, hold on, what are we doing here? But my body's already engaged in that, I perceive danger or a threat. And so physically protecting myself or the people around me, it takes priority. The idea of shrinking back away from it is not something that my brain naturally does. Now, once my brain is engaged and I go, okay, you are about to take a protective stance against someone who's 3 times bigger than you and may hurt you, maybe you ought to back off a little. And so then, then it can become different. But my very first reaction with no thought, my instinct is to attack. That's any threats. That's my instinct. So I was in Walmart many, many years ago. I was in Walmart one day. I was by myself, and there was this little boy there. And they had just put out these Christmas decorations, right? And, they got them now. They put the dang Christmas decorations out even before Halloween. It's so infuriating. But anyway, they had put the new Christmas decorations. They were in the process of putting them out. And this little fella, probably 4 years old, he was so excited. Like he was just tickled to death. He was so excited. And I kind of looked up and watched him for a second, smiled to myself, because there was so much excitement and he was so animated and just couldn't look at everything fast enough, just going from one, interesting little tidbit to the next. And he finds something, I don't remember what it was, but he finds something, some ornament or something. And he goes running up to this older woman and he says, Granny, look at what I got. Look at this. So he's just trying to get her to stop and look at something, some ornament or something that he found that he thought was really nice, really cool. And she was very dismissive of him. She was, looking at something that she was interested in. She didn't want to mess with him. She pushed him back a little bit, with her arm. I don't mean she hit him, but just sort of blocked him from jumping around her, to leave her alone. And all of a sudden, she just turns on this little kid, right? Like you could see, it was like a switch went off. And she just turned on him and she got like close to him and she's just growling like we've heard Christopher Proudfoot growl. She growls at him and she said, I told you to stop. She said, do you want me to get this wooden spoon out of my purse and hit you? The little kid was crushed. Like he immediately just stopped moving. Like it just froze him in his tracks. And as I'm explaining this, I'm kind of going slow, but you got to understand this was a split second when it all happened. And as I've said, I tend to act instinctively with problem approach. And so before I even really realized what I was doing, I had already approached her and I said, that has got to be the dumbest question I ever heard. I said, let me ask you this question, lady. I said, would you like me to get the wooden spoon out of your purse and hit you with it? And she was just completely quiet. Like she just looked at me. Her eyes were just big, right? She's just looking at me. And I said, he doesn't want you to hit him. He wants you to look at the Christmas decoration. And you literally threatened him with physical violence. Don't ask dumb questions. You won't get dumb answers. And I turned around and walked away. And I thought to myself, I stand by what I said. I think I was 100% in the right. What would happen if you walked up to your husband or your wife or your mom or your dad or, another adult, your best friend, whatever? What happens if you walk up to them and you say, hey, you want me to take this wooden spoon and hit you? What if your husband came up to you and said, take that belt off, and then took the belt and hit you with it? Is that abuse? Gray Hughes, if your wife walked up to you and said, Gray, take your belt off, and then she takes the belt and straps you across your buttocks, is that abuse? My bet is that's ground for divorce. That is, if we want to be accurate, that is grounds for divorce. Am I right or wrong? If you say yes, put a 1. If you disagree, put a 2. So it's interesting to me as a person who provides services to traumatized children. It's interesting to me that while we would not threaten another adult, even the closest people in our lives, that we would not threaten them with a weapon like a belt or a switch or a wooden spoon. While we would not do that to our equal, we seem to feel entitled to do it to little kids. And I think that should be a source of shame. You know what I mean? I think that when we're dealing with little kids, because they are so very hungry for approval, our children want us to love them. Our children want us to notice them and look at them and say, good job, or I'm sorry you had a bad day. Our children are hungry for that type of connection. But what we offer instead is violence with a weapon. We should do some soul searching with that. We really should. It is shameful. I agree, Trishy. It's shameful. So children that grow up in these authoritarian type homes where there are wooden spoons in Granny's purse and she's going to whip them out and knock you over the head with them simply because you're excited about a pretty Christmas ornament. I think those types of interactions, I think they have long-term impact and effect on our children. And then those kids having their power and their control robbed from them, they then grow up to be adults who are filled with anger and are grabbing at authoritarian control themselves. So this little video clip that I have here of Wade Wilson having a conversation with his father, they have found the first woman dead. They have not found his second victim. And so they are having this conversation. So I'm going to be very quiet so that we can hear this. It's a little hard to hear. And then we're going to talk about malignant narcissism and authoritarian control. And if what is so unusual and peculiar about what you're about to hear Wade Wilson say.
Tell these similarities, which is why the comment about being compared with Bundy seemed to have pleased him. At some point, the conversation.
Yeah, so the dad, I didn't go back that far. The dad is telling him that there is a man, like one of his friends or someone interviewed for the news or something, that said that Wade Wilson was just like Ted Bundy. You know, the anger, the violence against women, yada, yada. That they felt like he was just like Ted Bundy, that there would be other women that he had killed, that it wouldn't be limited to these two women. Yada, yada. So that, and Wade Wilson gets excited about that. He likes that. He's like, you're kidding. Really? Like I'm like Ted Bundy?
Conversation shifts to Wade's ex-girlfriend identified as Mila, and he complains that she is trying to get all the attention from the media.
You know, I sent her a message, dude, and I said, listen, this isn't your time.
Okay. This guy right here killed two women. They have found the first one and they have not yet found the second one. The news media are going to Mila and interviewing her about Wade Wilson, what kind of a creep, crazy person he is. He's literally telling her, stop trying to get all the media attention. He believes that she wants to be on the news. It's crazy.
Identified as Mila, and he complains that she is trying to get all the attention from the media.
You know, I sent her a message, dude, and I said, listen, this isn't your time. This time right here is for these women who they were still looking for the second one. You know, I said, stop trying to hog the media. You know what I mean?
What she's trying to do, because she's trying to get all the time for herself.
Wade made it clear he was excited about the media attention, and in another jail call conversation, he was heard animatedly talking about the interviews he was going to grant and how they would be aired on major news channels.
You know, they're going to bring the news.
So he's literally complaining. He reached out to Mila and he says to Mila, stop trying to hog all the media attention. Isn't that crazy? You've just bludgeoned two women to death, choked one of them. The other one, you ran over him with your car like 100 times or some craziness. Overkill on both of these women. They did nothing to him. He just was having a bad day, if you will. And now they're still looking for the second woman's body. And he's actually calling, reaching out to the girlfriend, saying, hey, man, this is not your time. This is not your time to get your 3 minutes of fame. This is my time. This is the time for the women I killed. Quit trying to hog all the media attention. Is that just bizarre? Like really, really, really crazy. So that is the malignant narcissist, right? That you can see in that statement, you can see that his priority, the thing that is motivating him, the thing that he is most interested in is his 3 minutes of fame. He absolutely loves the idea that the news media want to know who he is. They want to say his name so that all the citizens that listen to the news can hear his name. He has zero awareness that he just ended the lives of 2 women. He doesn't care. He literally thinks, I knew I was destined for greatness. I always knew I was special. And this is it. This is my moment. It's frightening as hell, really, that this creature was walking around people for so many years and not hurt anybody. I bet he did. I bet there have been murders that he got away with. There's so many missing women and kids, and they just go missing. Nobody ever finds them. He probably has managed to kill people in the past. So one of the reasons I wanted to show this is because it's so blatant. It's clear the malignant narcissist point of view of, I'm destined for greatness. I'm not like other people. There's something special about me. And then the news does show up because it's a nightmare. It's so incredible, the actions this man has taken. And he thinks that this means that he is famous, that he's, a great guy. He has no recognition that really people are motivated by care and concern, love and empathy for the dead women, not for him. And he, not only is he thinking he's living out his 3 seconds of fame, but then he attacks Mila and says, oh, look at her. She's just trying to be famous. But that is what he's doing. And so he's projecting that onto Mila, saying, oh, look at her. She's soaking up my sunshine. This is my turn. This is my story. This is for me. Kind of chilling, isn't it? So when I listened to this, I was struck by the really lengthy, high energy attempts of Christopher Proudfoot's team to stop people from talking about Sebastian. And it's like, okay, and if you use my name or Sebastian's name or my wife's name, then you got to give the money up. You got to give us the money. And you're kind of struck dumb because you're thinking, what's wrong with you? This isn't about anyone making money. It's not about your time in the sun. It's not about you being able to talk about how great Christopher is. It's 100% about a little kid and we're trying to keep his name out there, trying to tell a story. But no one can talk if Christopher Proudfoot is on the panel. No one can speak if Christopher Proudfoot is on the panel, much less the one person who can't speak at all is Katie. She doesn't get to answer. Now, part of me thinks that that's by design, that that's plausible deniability, that if there is a jury in their future, that she will not have to contend with the prosecutor coming back, playing a recording of her saying one thing while they have evidence of something else, proving her to be a liar. The truth is, as you go back through all of these public interviews and podcasts and whatnot, the truth is Katie Proudfoot has said nearly nothing of substance. Nothing. And I think that's on purpose. I think she's being protected. All right. He gave a little smile a few seconds ago. Weird. Who gave a little smile? Hey, Diane. Welcome. Good to see you. Everyone else is disposable to him, including Mila. Yeah, 100%. People are disposable. Yep. They're simply tools that he can use to get what he wants. And he had the audacity to actually contact Mila and say, stop trying to hog all the media time. It's just jaw-dropping, isn't it? Really, 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 really amazing to listen to one of these guys in action. Let's see. I'm going to go all the way back here.
What? Yeah, he was on the news. He was on the news last night, just saying, that you were a monster. And
oh, he talked about me on the news. It was that big.
Yeah, and he compared you to Ted Bundy.
You mean I'm famous now? Oh, you mean it's that big? Really? It's pitiful.
You're kidding me, bro.
Very much like Wade, Bundy was a prolific serial killer who enjoyed the attention of the media and the public at large, even though he pretended not to.
I get angry. You're very, very angry and indignant. I don't like being locked up for something I didn't do, and I don't like my liberty taken away, and I don't like being treated like an animal, and I don't like people walking around and ogling me like I'm some sort of weirdo. Because I'm not.
He was also sentenced to death for the murders of about 30 women, even though it is believed that the numbers may be higher. Again, like Wade, he showed almost no remorse for his actions. And even after he was sentenced, he had this to say.
There is no way in the world that killing me is going to restore those beautiful children to their parents and
He's talking about the people he killed. He's trying to shame other people by saying, look, you're being bad wanting to see me killed. Just because you kill me, it doesn't restore the beautiful children that lost their lives. No, Ted Bundy, Theodore, the beautiful people that you murdered, you took their lives away. But this is a true narcissist. This is how easily they lie. Their experience is not like me and you. If you steal $5, you walk around feeling uncomfortable, like you're aware you did that. You're aware that you hurt someone. You're aware that you need to make amends. This dude, he steals $5. He's just going to be like, well, of course I took $5. I'm special. I'm better than you. I'm entitled. So sorry. It's really, really crazy. Narcissists are famous for doing things like, they'll stick the knife in your back, right? They'll do something, a betrayal, some large, devastating betrayal. They'll stick a knife in your back. And then when you have a reaction, and you say, "You son of a bitch, you stuck a knife in my back. How dare you? It hurts. Help me." When you act out, then the narcissist that stuck the knife in your back, they'll say, "You called me a son of a bitch. How dare you? You're a horrible person." And then they'll attack you, fully justified in the attack because you called them a dirty name, but zero awareness. The reason that you got called that dirty name is because you stuck the knife in her back. They don't live like me and you live. They don't experience corrective emotion. Oh my God. I've been having affairs on my wife for 20 years. I'm such a lowlife scum. I can't live with myself. What's wrong with me? How could I be such a liar and a phony and a cheat? They do not experience that. Their brains are broken. They don't care. But if that wife finds out that the husband has been having affairs for 20 years and she raises hell and she says, "How dare you, do this? You put my life in danger. You put our family in danger, blah, blah, blah." Then he's the quintessential victim. Oh my God, how could my horrible wife treat me so bad? They're different than healthy, normal people. They don't experience the world like we do. They do not have corrective emotions. They have instinct for basic survival skills. They get hungry, they eat. They get thirsty, they drink. They want sex, they'll have sex with a goalpost out there. They don't care. It's just in the moment satisfying whatever need they have. And just like Wade Wilson, this was his 3 minutes of fame. It was his actions. The whole world wanted to see special Wade Wilson. And how dare Mila try to hog his spotlight? And we see a very similar type of mentality from Christopher Proudfoot. You can't talk about Sebastian. You can't discuss what's in the news. Don't talk about Sebastian. Don't talk about me. Don't talk about my wife unless you're willing to give us the money. You're not allowed to make any money off of our story. Like somehow it's his work of art. Oh, there's an idea.
And correct and soothe the pain.
Perhaps Wade himself can tell these similarities, which is why the comment about being compared with Bundy seemed to have pleased him. At some point, the conversation shifts to Wade's ex-girlfriend identified as Mila, and he complains that she is trying to get all the attention from the media.
I sent her a message, dude, and I said, "Listen, this isn't your time. This time right here is for these women who they were still looking for the second one." I said, "Stop trying to hog the media." You know what I mean?
What she's trying to do, too, she's trying to get all the time for herself.
Wade made it clear he was excited.
It's just so foreign, isn't it? It's just so odd. So I thought that was such a clear and pristine example. His view of Mila trying to, quotation marks, hog the spotlight, and that this was his time, this was his fame, this was the fame of the dead women, that this is his story, and no one's going to move in on his story, by God. And that's exactly what we have experienced with Christopher Proudfoot. I don't know how many emails, messages that I got informing me that I could not do a video on Sebastian Rogers. And here's the thing that's kind of sad about it. Well, not sad, but I guess ironical. The irony in that is that you guys know I don't typically do these cases involving children. I stay away from them, right? Just like Summer Wells, I think I made one, maybe two videos. I do not cover the cases involving kids, and I have reasons for that. But there was something about those messages and those emails telling me that I was not allowed to talk about the case. And I said, there's a moral imperative here. You can't tell someone not to discuss what is a public story. Yeah. Trishy says, is narcissism on a spectrum? Yes. So you're talking about varying degrees of impact, right? And so any of the personality descriptors, they do come at varying degrees. And so we will talk about when one particular, like neuroticism, if one of those variables is quite enhanced or too low, then we'll define it as pathological or clinical levels. The MMPI will discuss clinical levels of certain variables. I will say this, narcissism, it's way overused term, quite overused. But look, the truth is that narcissism, everybody needs a healthy level of narcissism. And when I say a healthy level, this is what I mean. You need to hold yourself in esteem, right? You need to be proud of who you are. You need to be aware of what your strengths are, the things that you're good at. You need to take the time for good grooming, take care of your hygiene. All of those types of behaviors, those all fall under that heading of narcissism, narcissistic love. And so we want a healthy level of self-care. We want to value who we are. We want to love ourselves. But where it becomes pathological is when the symptoms of that particular factor are so expansive that it interferes with your ability to get along with other people, to maintain a job or a relationship or a home, when you feel entitled to take the lives of another person because you're special after all. So people, yes, you want to make sure that you take care of yourself. You have good grooming hygiene. You love yourself. You don't allow other people to abuse you or mistreat you. You pursue activities that build you up and give you confidence and make you feel good about yourself. All of those things are healthy levels of narcissism. But where it goes off the rails is, and I'll go back to that same, kind of classic example. If you're a married person and you're having affairs on your spouse, the thing that you're doing is dangerous. You're not just like an empty vessel trying to get all the narcissistic supply that you lack. You're not operating in a vacuum. You are exposing your family, your children, you're exposing them to danger. I don't know how many crazy affair partners have, lost control of their emotions and gone after the families. I mean, it is a common thing that happens. Just ask law enforcement. So you also expose them to danger if the wife or husband is still having sexual relations with the person that's having affairs. You're being exposed to disease. It's a very psychopathic activity to have an affair, because you actually are taking people that trust you and believe in you, and you're exposing them to danger without their consent. They don't know that they are being exposed to these various types of danger. So people that have affairs and whatnot, they all just across the board, pretty common for them to be high in psychopathy. They don't care about anybody but themselves. That's just who they are. So someone flirting with you and then you feeling good because you got recognized for your appearance or your talents or whatever, that's a healthy level of narcissism. But having someone flirt with you and then you say, hey, baby, give me your number. Let's go on a date and have sex. That is psychopathy level narcissism. And it can coexist with other personality disorders for sure. And very often, narcissistic personality disorder, it is very common, not always, but it is a common coexisting with antisocial personality disorder, sometimes borderline. Definitely mood disorders are common with people diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So yeah, we get a lot of the crossover diagnoses. Charlie Manson's opinion of Ted Bundy seemed to be spot on. A mama's boy, he wishes he was a real man, sounds like CP. Yeah, I do think Christopher Proudfoot's got a mommy thing. There's something about that. That also is pretty common with people that have narcissistic personality disorder. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Christopher Proudfoot has narcissistic personality disorder. Cannot make that statement. But I definitely think that the words of Wade Wilson in this clip parallel exactly what we have seen coming out of the Proudfoot Bowersox camp. I definitely think that. All right. Oh yeah, they hurt other people because they don't care about other people. They don't look at them. They don't think about them. They don't care. They're going to do what they want to do to get their needs met. And they don't care who gets hurt. They don't care if the kids get hurt. They don't care if the spouses get hurt. If the bosses, the businesses, they don't care. They don't care. They're just focused only on themselves. Narcissistic mothers are more likely to raise narcissistic sons. Narcissistic mothers create children that are very passive and afraid of confrontation. That's a very common family pattern. And a lot of people, so in the narcissistic family structure, that's where you get that pretty stereotypical golden child, scapegoat, and then the other people are brought in as flying monkeys, right? Believe it or not, the scapegoat is generally, they will stake their independence at some point. They will become weary of trying to get the love and affection, the approval of the narcissistic parent. They will become weary of that. There will be a moment of realization, not always, but often. There'll be a moment of realization of, I'm not the problem. My crazy mother is. And all I'm doing is getting hurt by allowing myself to be exposed to these manipulative liars, hurtful people. And the longer I stick my neck out there, the more often I'm going to get hurt. So I've had enough. I need to get out. And so the scapegoats will be the ones that will walk away and they'll say, you know what? I got a crazy family. Screw y'all. I'm done. Unfortunately, the sad part is that the golden child usually becomes the sacrificial lamb, right? So I say that, the scapegoat becomes the black sheep, correct? The scapegoat says, I'm worth more. I don't deserve this bad treatment by my narcissistic parent and the flying monkeys in my family. I don't deserve this. I'm a good person. And the scapegoat will say, I'm done, color me gone. And so they leave the family structure, they become the black sheep, right? And there is no shame in being a black sheep. In fact, black sheep are beautiful, they are powerful, they are unique, they stand on their own. I would much rather be a black sheep than, you know, a tarnished golden child. So the golden child, what will end up happening to the golden child is they will spend a lifetime living their lives according to the delusion of the narcissist. You see, the narcissist lives a life of delusion. They do not live in reality. They live in made up stories in their mind, right? They convince themselves that somehow they're better than they are, that they're more accomplished than they actually are. And they build themselves up in their mind, and they're acting out like a role, right? Like they're kind of like they're a main actor in their own movie. And the sad, unfortunate, tragic thing about the golden child is that the golden child becomes one of the actors in the movie of the narcissist. And the golden child doesn't even really recognize that they have abdicated control of their lives. They do not see, well, maybe there may be moments of insight, but for the most part, the golden child doesn't realize that they have no voice. The golden child doesn't realize that they have no life of their own, that they are being driven and guided and micromanaged by a malignant narcissist. Their parent, usually the mother is harming the golden child by robbing the golden child of any type of individuality, robbing personal agency of the golden child. The golden child grows up in a way that they experience, I require my mom's love, or my narcissistic parent. I require their love. I can't live without that. And so no matter what happens, I cannot upset my narcissistic parent. I've got to keep that narcissistic parent happy with me because I'm a simple extension of that narcissistic parent. Right? And so if you're the golden child, you're at the mercy of your narcissistic parent. And depending on how badly affected, how pathological that narcissist may be, life as the golden child can be a literal hell on earth. Literal. And so, the golden child, here's another really sad part of it. Remember, all of this is being guided by a delusion of the narcissistic parent, and the narcissistic parent will be saying to the golden child, I'm so glad you're my child. I'm so glad that I have you as my child. You're the only one that really loves me. And I'm just so proud when I watch you play football. You're the best football player on the team. Oh, look at what a great baseball player you are. You're the greatest baseball player. And the fact that nobody gave you a scholarship to play college ball, it's just because they're all stupid. They don't recognize what a talent you are. They don't recognize just how amazing you are in baseball. Those scouts at the colleges, they're the stupid heads, not my sweet baby. My sweet baby is the best baseball player of all time. And you're the most handsome. You're such a handsome baseball player. I just don't know what to do. I'm just the luckiest mom to have such a loving, attentive son, greatest athlete of all time, and so good looking. You should have been in the movie. You should have been in Hollywood. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the golden child is sitting there soaking up all of this delusional nonsense. And the reality is the golden child is simply probably got a learning disability, unable to really accomplish anything on his own, a raging alcoholic who mistreats his own wife and children, a guy who can't keep any friends because he takes everyone's money. Hey man, let me borrow $20. I'll pay you back. And of course they never do. And so the scapegoat is being fed by the narcissistic mother, convincing him that he's this iconic golden boy, the great college, athlete, so good looking and handsome. He should have been in Hollywood. So accomplished and smart. If only everyone else wasn't so stupid that they can't, notice his greatness. But the truth is the golden child knows he's a loser. Like the golden child listens to the mom with all these weird, inflated delusions about her golden child. And he goes, yeah, but I drink a fifth of scotch every night. I don't think that's really associated with a high level of accomplishment, right? But it doesn't matter at that point. Once you get to that point now, they're in a shared delusion and they depend on each other. They've got to have one another to feed each other's delusion. And so it becomes this really sick, enmeshed relationship that has absolutely no parallel to reality. It's just a fantasy on both parts. But make no mistake about it, they can't survive without each other. Because if you don't have each other to fulfill the delusion, to fulfill the fantasy, then the fantasy falls to pieces, right? So the great, wonderful college athlete that never was, the great, wonderful alcoholic son who never accomplished anything, his mommy's telling him how wonderful and amazing he is, except that all these people were too dumb to notice how great he was. And what does he do in return? He calls his mommy 5, 6, 15 times a day. Hey, what you doing? Yeah, I'm done. I'll call you in a little while. Love you. 2 hours later. Hey, what you doing? Okay, I'll call you in a little while. 2 hours later. Hey, what? And it's that bad. So the narcissistic mother is getting this constant phone calls all day long. That gives her narcissistic supply because she's saying, look at what a good mom I am. Look at what a wonderful mom I am, that my son, my golden boy, calls me every, couple times, an hour. That's a reflection of what a great mom I am and what a great son he is. He, on the other hand, if he doesn't have his narcissistic mother blowing him up and telling him how great and awesome and wonderful he is, then he's forced to look at the reality of his life, which is, no, I'm not special. I am an alcoholic. I am filled with a long string of failures in my life. I am no one that anyone would look up to me. So they require each other, right? It's interdependent. It's symbiotic. They need one another. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the scapegoat is just going, oh my God, these crazy people, get me away from this nuttiness. And then the scapegoat will go out and make a place in the world and have a happy, great, loving life, right? Now, what happens to the scapegoat when the narcissist dies? What do you think happens to him? They fall to pieces, right? Because there's no one on the other end of the phone. How can you call someone 15 times a day so that she can tell you how great and awesome and handsome and smart and great athlete, you're such a wonderful son, if nobody's on the other end of the line? And that's the beginning of the end then, right there. Can that dynamic be within siblings? It always involves sibling sunset gazing, always. You have the scapegoat, and you have the golden child, and then any other siblings or the other parent or anything like that, they all become flying monkeys. They do the bidding of the narcissistic parent. And so there's a lot of manipulation where everyone in the family has to say, oh, the scapegoat, wow, the scapegoat is such a problem. The scapegoat causes all the problems. The scapegoat, look, I've seen scapegoats check out, right? They say, to hell with my crazy family. I do not want to be part of this nuttiness anymore. They get away from the family. They're not even around. They're not even talking to anyone for 6 months, 9 months. They're not even anywhere around. But when it all blows up, because it will, when it all blows up, the narcissistic mother says, oh, you know what? That was Danny's fault. Oh, Danny did it. And you're like, no, Danny hasn't been in a part of our conversations, hasn't spoken to anybody, doesn't even know anything that's been going on in 9 months. How did he cause the fight between you and your youngest son? But it is very difficult to get out of that mindset. And so these roles are critical for maintaining the delusion. And that is really what it's all about. It's really about the narcissist who has no real accomplishments of their own. They have no real identity for themselves. They construct an illusion. They're living a fantasy life. And so the roles of their children become quite instrumental in making them believe that their delusion, their illusion is real. Oh my God, you're describing my mother-in-law's birth family. She was the golden child. And the golden child really struggles. The scapegoat does great. The scapegoat just eventually says, you're all nuts, and I don't want any part of any of you, goodbye. And they go out in the world and they live their life and they do fine. The golden child is really in trouble. As soon as the narcissistic parent is gone, they die or whatever. Scapegoats got about a year and they completely implode. A lot of them will kill themselves, commit suicide. It's pretty tragic, horrible family structure. I wish Wade's adopters would speak out, but can't blame them. That would be very interesting, wouldn't it, Cinnamon? And I agree. It would be really hard to come out and tell the story if you were the one that fostered and adopted. Yeah, I get it, but it would be interesting to hear the background. My sister was supposed to be the golden child and I was supposed to be the scapegoat. We both got sick of our narcissistic parent and disconnected. There you go, Lux. You just eventually, enough is enough. Yep. She's still living at 95 and lives with my mother-in-law. I know my grandpa used to say, what was it? Something about someone's too mean to die. That reminds me of old narcissists. Too mean to die. But it's pretty tragic. I would 100%, 100% rather be the scapegoat who becomes the black sheep than to be the golden child who is lost. They're not even real people. They're at the mercy of the narcissistic parent. And it is really sad when they die. The scapegoat is directionless. They no longer have any idea who they are, what their worth is. They're confronted with the reality of who they are and what their life is. Pretty tragic. It's also incredibly interesting. The scapegoat, or not scapegoat, the golden child, they don't identify with their own families. Like, they don't have a close, intimate relationship with their spouse. They're not like present in their children's day-to-day life. They're 100% focused on that narcissistic parent who is feeding them the narcissistic supply, which is really, it's really tragic, right? That you could have an authentic, loving relationship with your children, but you're too broke. And if they do that, if they do try to get away from the narcissist so they can have an authentic relationship with their spouse and their kids, then of course there's hell to pay, right? The narcissist will punish the golden child severely. That's all the narcissist knows too. The narcissist controls people through harm, like to hurt them, to make them feel bad, to shame them, to, write them out of the will, deny them financial resources, things like that, to tell, you are not my child, you are not my daughter, stupid things like that. So I had never seen any soften in old age. They seem to become, the games that they play seem to become worse as the narcissist ages. My grandpa used to say that went over there, the devil don't want her and God won't take her. Yeah. I've known some people like that for sure. The sibling is the narcissist and the other siblings fall into other roles, but parents are normal. Interesting. Very interesting. Mother-in-law wanted to be the star in all of her boys' lives. She tried. I was the first daughter-in-law. I had to set hard boundaries. Well, good for you, Trishy, for setting those boundaries. It is not to be a part of the narcissist games. It's not for the faint of heart. It's very, very painful existence to be actively involved with them. One of the stories that I heard, narcissistic woman married to a codependent man, and they got a foster child. They couldn't have kids of their own. They got a foster child. And so they got this little girl. She soon came to be like 12, 13 years old. And the husband said, okay, I'm tired of being in this abusive relationship. You have affairs all the time. You're mean to your daughter. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And so the husband filed for divorce to get away. And he was like the golden child. The daughter, the foster daughter or adopted daughter was the scapegoat, right? It's kind of weird, but the husband was the golden child and the daughter was a scapegoat. Well, the husband just couldn't manage it anymore. He got overwhelmed. He'd had enough. He said, I want out of this. This is unhealthy. This is bad. I want out. So he files for divorce. He moves out. He gets an apartment. Next thing he knows, he gets a phone call in the middle of the night. It's the 13-year-old daughter who's been with them since she was, a toddler, right? Like she's their daughter. This girl didn't know any other home. This was their daughter. He gets a phone call in the middle of the night. His wife had told the state to come and get the daughter, that they were getting a divorce, and she would no longer be the foster mother for this child. Now, this was done. She later blamed the man, the father. He said that she had to do that because he was divorcing her. It was just a way to harm him. It was just, she had no care about what it did to the child, but it was to stick a knife in the back of the father. Isn't that incredible? Like, that's one of those examples that stands out in my mind. Never, ever, ever underestimate the viciousness of a narcissist. When they want to punish, they can come up with new and unique levels of suffering when they're motivated to do so. So that long story ended up being a happy ending. They reworked everything, and the man went and adopted the girl on his own. So the narcissist lost in the end. But so it did have a very good ending. But wow, you just stop to think about your mom dumping you at 13 and saying, I'm not going to be your mom anymore. Go back to the state. Terrifying, just terrifying. So horrible, horrible person, horrible woman. So, all right. So I thought that was a really great example, him calling his girlfriend and saying, stop, hogging all the media. I think that proprietary, I own people and I own things and everybody has to listen to me. I'm going to direct you and tell you what you can or can't do. That's your malignant narcissist. That is the stereotypical malignant narcissist, the sense of entitlement and whatnot. And we have heard that a lot with the Bowersox Proudfoot group, a lot. So it's a little chilling. All right. I'm finished. I hope you guys have, my family did things behind my back that I didn't find out until the day of my mother's death. If my father had been alive, he would not have done that to me. I decided I didn't care and let it go. Look, Truth Seeker, that's all you can do. When a narcissist, a malignant narcissist is involved, you've got to remember the only rule is do what I say, and if you don't, there will be hell to pay. So there's nothing you could have ever done to entice her to be kind to you, to be nice to you, nothing. And if very often the father is like the protector, right? The father tries to insulate the scapegoat from the mother's wrath, right? So if the mother dies first, then everybody's happy, everything's okay. But if the caretaker, the protector dies first, then the narcissistic mother, there's no limits. And that's where the real pain starts. That's where the real manipulation goes. That's when the narcissistic mother embraces all of her brutality and unleashes it on the scapegoat and gets all the other kids in the family to also do the same painful games. It's really awful. It's really terrible. Lots of scapegoats have found their strength, found their identity, found their courage, and willingly became the black sheep. And they walked out into the world with strength and power and made a life that they were really, really proud of. And then you just forget about the damn narcissist. You just forget it. There's no reasoning with them. There's no talking to them with logic. It's just simply not possible. So if you're the scapegoat, take a deep breath and go out there and live a life that you love. And don't worry about the games that narcissist will play. Narcissistic parents are notorious for disinheriting the scapegoat. They love it. Like they love it. Like it gives them a sense of power and control, and they love it. And so they will use that if there's money, if there is any type of inheritance, they'll use that as a tool of manipulation, right? They'll say to the kids, well, you do it this way or you're written out of the will. Well, you better do it this way or you're going to be written out of the will. I'm going to disown you. I'm going to disinherit you. And depending on the amount of the money, some kids will be jumping, right? I mean, it will be an impossible situation. So there is such an amazing, it's such an amazing, it's peaceful when you say, okay, write me out. Do what you need to do for you, because I'm going to live my life on my terms. And I'm not willing to get out of bed at 3:00 in the morning and drive 8 hours because you say, oh, my daughter-in-law is not feeding me. There's no groceries in the house. And yet when you get there after this 8-hour drive, the food is all over the damn place. That it's just a toy. It's just a game to exert power over you. And it's horrible. It's terrible. And at some point, depending on what it is, at some point you just say, you know what, no amount of money is worth this. This person is never going to give me relief. This person will always manipulate, and I am drowning in the manipulation. And you find your freedom. And it's a great day. It's a great day. Donna Burns, I was the scapegoat. Her last dig at me was telling my sister-in-law I could have none of her jewelry, as if I would want anything to remind me of her. Donna, that is such a stereotypical action of the narcissistic mother. That's it right there in a nutshell. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the pitiful, in the same way, that Donna says, like, I don't want your jewelry. I don't want any memory of this hellish relationship that kept my stomach in knots all the time, right? But I felt sick all the time. I look at my phone. She's calling me on my phone, and every muscle in my body tenses up because you recognize you're about to be manipulated in a very awful, painful way. The sad part is the golden child. The golden child is hungry for that money and for that jewelry and for those phone calls and for that, oh, you're my baby. Your sister's so mean to me. Look at what a great person you are. I don't know what I would do without you. You're the greatest child. The problem is this. If that golden child says, hey, I think I want to move to Houston and have a successful career, then the narcissistic mother has a major meltdown. I can't believe you're going to leave me. What's going to become of me? My life will be over. You never loved me, did you? You never loved me. And then you'll get the silent treatment for a couple of months just to make sure that the golden child understands. Don't you ever have those bad thoughts again. Don't you ever think about being an independent adult ever again. And there is hell to pay when you go against the narcissistic parent. It's hell to pay. They're bad people. I'm gonna tell you, Donna Burns will tell you, they're bad people. They're really bad. They create a great deal of pain. And the peace, that's right, Truth Seeker, the peace that you experience when you set healthy boundaries, well, that peace is, independence, right? The peace that you feel is that you're living it's freedom, and everything is authentic. When you're in the midst of these people, the types of games and manipulations that they engage in, they lie. And so you don't ever know what is being said that is truthful and what is it that's being said that is just a manipulative lie. And that can rob people of their peace and their foundation, that you don't ever know if what they're saying to you is the truth or not, and that is a terrible way to live. That's one of the reasons why infidelity is so damaging, is that the person who did not cheat, they don't know what part of their life is real, is factual, and what part are lies. And it can really destroy your foundation. It can really destroy your ability just to be happy and healthy. It can be really, really, really difficult, painful. What do you do when your narcissist is best friends with all of your haters? Find a new group of friends, Vicki Carpenter. Look, let's see how to answer this. The narcissist in your life, they will create your haters. That's the flying monkeys, right? The narcissist must have reinforcements. They require a team so that they can control you. And so you have to be, one of the most painful things for people who have a narcissistic parent is when they're going through the process of discovery and revelation, right? Like here's a common story. They spend their whole lives always feeling like an outsider, feeling like I'm not good enough. Why doesn't my mom love me? What have I done wrong that my mom can't accept me for who I am? And the narcissist will say things like, why can't you be more like blah, 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 some person they think is great, right? And so as a kid, you grow up and you feel timid, you feel frightened, you avoid any type of confrontation. Every decision you make is made with the idea of, if I do this, will my narcissistic parent like me? To even picking out wallpaper. I don't know if I want to put this wallpaper up. I mean, I like it, but what would my mom think? I bet my mom's not going to like that. I bet she's not going to like that. And so you don't choose anything. You're an indecision, not because you don't know what you want, but because every decision is based on, will my narcissistic mother like this? And you get frozen in time, right? You can't do anything. So you grow up as a kid and then a young adult, and you have this feeling of, I got to do better. I got to be the kind of person that my mother would approve of or my mother would love, and then everything will be okay. And so the scapegoat is on this lifelong path of trying to convince the narcissistic mother that they're worthwhile and that they're someone to be proud of. And I mean, these will be the people that will go on and go to medical school, get a PhD, start a big, multi-billion-dollar, business. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk was 100% the scapegoat for his dad. 100%. Elon is the stereotypical scapegoat. Same thing, Johnny Depp, stereotypical scapegoat. That you you're growing up in the shadow of the narcissist. The narcissist denies you love. The narcissist denies you approval. They actually voice the words, why can't you be someone different? I don't like you. You got to be more like Tom, Dick, or Harry, right? It's a terrible way for a child to grow up. It's terrible. And so then they become educated or start a business or whatever. And they now begin going out into the world. And now they got people saying, good job. Wow, that was a great project you worked on. That was amazing. I love this idea. Look at how great you are. Wow, you're doing this so good. And the scapegoat goes, wow, this is really great. People seem to think I'm okay. People seem to think that I'm able to do these things that are important. So that then is where the worm turns, right? And the scapegoat then begins to say to themselves, okay, so my spouse really likes me. My family likes me. I seem to be fine with them. The people at my work, they like me. I got a raise and a promotion, and nobody's ever mad at me at work. So why is it that my own family is just constantly telling me how I screw everything up? And so there is then this period of discernment, and the scapegoat begins to go, okay, you know what? This is nuts. This hogwash, there's not anything wrong with me. They're the crazy ones. And then eventually they may try to speak to the narcissistic parent. They may try to work through things with the flying monkeys in the family or with the golden child. They may try to use logic, rationale, and try to arrive at something that makes sense. But the family is very sick. It's not the scapegoat that's sick. It's the family that's sick. And they can't tolerate the scapegoat stepping out of their role. And so eventually a scapegoat will say, I don't need this anymore. You guys are painful. You guys you undermine my confidence. I am tired of the chaos, never knowing these phone calls in the middle of the night with these crazy things happening. I don't want to be a part of this anymore, and I cannot be a part of this anymore. And then when the scapegoat gets away from it, when they put that boundary in place and they're able to insulate themselves from that role of it's all your fault, then suddenly their lives become very peaceful. Their lives become peaceful. They're calm. They recognize that they enjoy accomplishment. They start having ideas for the future, and life just gets better and better and better. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, the narcissistic parent has got to choose a new scapegoat. The narcissistic parent and the golden child, they have to remain intact. So there has to be a new scapegoat. Sometimes the new scapegoat will be the spouse of the narcissist. Sometimes they'll choose one of the flying monkeys and turn on that flying monkey. Sometimes it's a grandchild. Yeah. So how do I describe this? So I knew someone one time who was the stereotypical narcissistic family structure. And the narcissistic mother, the golden child, was the oldest son. The scapegoat was the middle daughter, and then there was a younger son who basically was non-engaged, tried to stay out of everybody's way and just be nice to everybody. When the daughter, who was the scapegoat, when the daughter said, color me gone, I don't want to do anything with any of you people. You are turning my life upside down. You're hurting me. I don't have any room for another knife in my back. I've got to get away from you guys because you're hurting me. So the adult daughter gets out of the family structure. Guess who becomes the new scapegoat? Like within 4 weeks, it was the granddaughter. It was the daughter of the youngest son became the new scapegoat. You see, you couldn't take one of the grandkids of the golden child and make them scapegoat, because then you alienate your golden child. So unfortunately, sadly, this narcissist chose the youngest son, his daughter. It was really sad, really, really sad. Dr. Ramani and Rebecca Zung are excellent resources for understanding narcissism. Every good gift comes from above, from the Father of the celestial light. I figured if it's good enough for him, then it's good enough for me. After all, that's where my gifts come from. Amen. Well said, Truth Seeker. What about the narcissist saying, you are just like your yada, yada, yada? Yeah, exactly that, Lady of Angels. You're just like, and then they name someone that, you know they hate, right? That's the same mentality of, why can't you be more like XYZ? What the narcissist is doing is they're attacking your identity. They're undermining your identity, and they're letting you know, I don't approve of you. You are not enough. But the truth is, you're absolutely fine. It's the narcissist and the golden child that are all screwed up, not the scapegoat. And my confidence in saying that comes from the number of scapegoats that I've known who have set boundaries and ended up making lives where they have success, they're accomplished, they have friends, they're happy, they're healthy, and, getting rid of the sick family was all they had to do. And then everything got better. Exactly. Get in line. Do exactly what I tell you to do. Exactly, Trissy. But you can't do the, eventually you have to save yourself, because the narcissistic parent is so punitive. They're so punitive. They're so hurtful. And they don't care what kind of damage they create. They don't care. I even think sometimes, like one of the narcissist parents that I know, I think she liked it. Like, to hurt one of her kids, she liked it. She enjoyed that feeling of power. So it's pretty sad. Pretty sad. And every scapegoat I've ever known, nice people. Those are the people that will give the shirt off their back to help you. It's really sad. All right, I'm done. This was just a little psych nugget, psych morsel, wasn't it? If you want to know anything else about narcissism, Dr. Ramani is amazing. She's wonderful. So, a week ago, the abuse I endured by my 23-year-old son. He is bipolar. I am so sorry, Polythene Pam. Bipolar is a very difficult condition. It's hard to control it. The medications are effective, but a lot of times they don't like they want their manic or hypomanic episodes, and so they refuse to take the medication. So I'm really sorry that happened, Pam. I hope you're okay. And you may have to think about putting some safety barriers. You may have to set some boundaries just for your own safety, right? There's no rule that says that, we have to expose ourselves to harmful, dangerous people just because they're in our family. No one should ever have to be subjective to dangerous people. Never. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Lady of Angels. I hope you're doing well. He's an addict. I have a protective order and eviction. Good. And I hope that you have a place that maybe you can go for a couple of days until he can kind of get grounded and not be so out of control. Give him a little bit of space while he's, moving out and stuff. I saw my mom do the same routine to my girls. The oldest was the golden child, and the second daughter was the scapegoat. I had to change the patterns for them. I'm glad you noticed it too, Truth Seeker. That's another thing about narcissistic parents, mothers. They don't recognize. They don't recognize appropriate limits, right? Like we all know, hey, my daughter is not the same thing as my granddaughter or my great-granddaughter. So my role with my daughter, I was in a lot more control, but it is not my place to be controlling of my daughter, like my granddaughter or my great-grandkids. But with narcissistic parents, they do not see that. They think that they have dominion over the grandkids, the great-grandkids, the nieces, the nephews. They don't care. And they will be horribly abusive. Like if their son has a girlfriend, they will be abusive to the girlfriend. They cannot honor limitations on their power. They are a very sick group of people, and the golden child is really sick because of the relationship. Well, if he's MIA, that means that you're safe, Pam. So please, please, please take care of yourself, please. Maybe even make sure that you have like a Ring doorbell camera so you can see who's at the door, things like that. Just please, please, please make sure that you're safe. It's extremely hard when I am the scapegoat living with the narcissistic mother. Boundaries are very difficult. AP, I get it. I've gotten out of the bed at 3 a.m. to make that drive. Okay. I get it. As long as you can establish some areas of peace where you've got an escape to sort of get away from her for a while, you can try to balance it. I don't know exactly what your situation is, but ultimately in the long run, if she's abusive, if she refuses to stop being abusive, put her in a nursing home. I mean, it does get to that point, Okay, good. I'm glad that, okay. And you've got to protect yourself, Pam. You got to remember that. Don't get hesitant. If he's violent and breaks down that door, you've got to protect yourself. Makes me think of Josh Powell and his creepy father. It's exactly like Josh Powell and his creepy father. Yes, absolutely. I once told my nephew's wife, don't leave your children alone with your mother-in-law, who is my sibling. My nephew knows it because she responded, I know. Good. And see, that's the thing, right? Open communication. With my daughter, I had to outwardly protect my daughter against my mother. I had to do that. So open communication, speak, talk to one another, and set those boundaries for, I don't know why they will target a particular person in the family, but they will. They'll have a favorite type of victim, and that's who they'll target. And man, when they finally find who it is they're going to target next, they can be vicious. So be prepared to protect the kids in your family. Don't let anyone turn them into a scapegoat. It's not good. It is not good. I lost a sister to bipolar in 2019. It's a very difficult disease. It really is. It's tragic. Can only imagine the challenge that it creates. I hope you have a strong support group. He's 32 years old. Well, hopefully he's worrying about himself, trying to find a new place to live, and he'll leave you in peace, Pam. Okay? But please, you need to also have 911 on speed dial. If you have the restraining order, if you have a protective order, if he just walks up on your porch, they will respond. Call, and they will come and arrest him. Yes, I'm really sorry, AP. All right, well, good. So this conversation definitely turned a little bit more academic than I expected, but it was good. We had a nice discussion. So, and remember, a little bit of narcissism is healthy. You should love yourself. You should want to present yourself well to the world. Make sure you look pretty and have good hygiene and all those things. That is okay. Pathology is different. When you're screaming at someone hogging up all of the television time because you've just killed 2 women, that was definitely a pathological level of narcissism, right? All right. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Truth Seeker. Thanks to everybody for being here. I'm really, humbled that you stuck around for this long. If you don't mind, please hit the thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and feel free to share it on your social media. Okay. I know I said I'm going to do the Sarah Boone video, Are We Being Punked? And I will, but it'll be later on this evening. Okay. All right. Y'all have an absolutely wonderful Sunday afternoon. See you later.